Etsy news. Is Etsy about to be making more money off of its sellers? Have they changed some rules without telling us? All this and more in today's Etsy news. Yeah, I thought this was going to be a quite easy one, and then things blew up that I have to share. So, shall we get into this? Firstly, Etsy's newsletter came out on Thursday, so I thought I'd share some of the stuff we're seeing here. They're telling us spiced neutrals are going to be trending for autumn, fall. Is this news? There's going to be earthy tones as a trending palette for autumn times. Seriously, guys, can we not just have purple as a trend all year round? But anyway, apparently, yes, spiced neutrals, mustards, and of course blankets and pillows and things, terracotta rugs, every year. um, and don't forget the events that are coming up. The Etsy Payments and Shop Finances live Q&A was the other week there. I watched it. If you know what you're doing with the payments and stuff, there's not a whole lot there. For newbies who don't know about it all, there's probably not enough there. But if you're not sure about Etsy Payments, give it a watch. There's a couple of events coming up. Behind the launch, how a product dropped comes together could be interesting. It doesn't interest me in the slightest, to be honest. Yeah, basically fantastic for these shops, but big sellers telling you how they do a launch is not helpful for most sellers who do not have the kind of following or ability to do that kind of thing. I mean, doing launches of things is such a cool idea, but most of us are probably not in that place yet. But September the 18th is the big one. Etsy Up, of course, I shall be going there listening to all of that on your behalf. But yeah, it might be nice to see some of you in the chat. Jessica from eRank showed me this one. Basically, in the past, if an item was a digital download, we see the popular now badges on it. There used to be a badge across the image saying instant download. That was a handy thing. Then it went away. So people were struggling. Thankfully, the sellers, this is just a random page I picked from Etsy. The sellers are getting better putting on their photo and saying this is a crochet pattern, most of them. But now Etsy has put underneath that it's a digital download. So this is helpful. It was better when it was up in the top corner of the picture. So it was really clear, because when you look at a listing, the two in the center, for example, you've got crocheted rats and you've got some cute little tops. If there isn't the digital downloads, it's difficult to see if they're patterns or not. Yes, the one on the right says patterns in the title, but sometimes bits of the title can get chopped off. So yes, it is good to show that something's a pattern, that something's a digital download, for when you're looking for something physical or you're looking for something digital. Sure, you can filter, but I don't know how many people filter. Okay, so here's a big one that was kicking off last night. I just want to ask if anyone else is seeing this. A few people have said to me that they've had listings taken down and they're a bit worried, about the whole getting another strike in their shops out kind of thing. So this was listings related to this was fidget toys for people with anxiety, autism, or ADHD. And Etsy support told them, no, Etsy Legal, I think it was, have told some people that their listings were removed because they included references to anxiety, autism, and ADHD. Etsy prohibits the use of certain medical claims. But saying autism isn't a medical claim, it's a greyish area, but Etsy, this has not been an issue before, in my understanding, and the terms, the legal policy of not allowed to make medical claims, it was like for people selling soap or something. They're not allowed to say it cures eczema because there's a whole whole big deal with that. They're not allowed to say the essential oils have properties, or Etsy was protecting its back. I asked in the forums about this, and I'm seeing, although people are saying they did think the things were allowed to be sold, a lot of people were saying, yes, well, I have a child with autism and these toys are no good, so it shouldn't be allowed. Everyone has their own opinion on this. I don't have, there's one person in my family with autism, but I don't really have any closeness to this thing. As far as I see, as far as I'm aware, a lot of people with several neurodevelopment conditions do find it helpful to use these type of things, and a lot of people who don't, I always have something on my desk that I'm fiddling with. I should just get a fidget toy. But it's been a cool thing. It's been helpful for some people. I can see the side of the coin if Etsy is banning this, saying that anything is helpful with anything. So I can see that side of it. I'm also a little bit like, you can't say this is a toy for people with ADHD because I have ADHD and it doesn't work for me, is a bit like saying, not comparing people to dogs, but it's a bit like saying if I made a dog toy that my dog loves and I went to say it, other people would say, you can't say this is a dog toy because my dog doesn't like it. Some people like these things. But anyway, I wasn't aware of this being an issue. Now, the top is a direct quote from Etsy to somebody else. So I dived in chat to ask. You can imagine how long I was in chat and how unstraightforward this was. But firstly, you go through the support bot. And Etsy said listings are not deactivated based on personal characteristics such as autism. So the Etsy bot isn't aware of an issue, and the agent that I spoke to, they were like, we can't talk on cases, blah, blah, blah. But I said, just wanted a direct answer. So yes, handmade autism fidget toys can be sold on Etsy as long as they meet our creativity standards. They're handmade by you and all the rest of it. So we've got some conflicting advice there. I will keep trying to look into it, but just is anyone else seeing this? Is anyone else in this niche? And have you had any trouble with Etsy? Let me know what's going on here, and we'll try and stay on top of this. Here's a little rabbit hole I went down with. I usually check Etsy in the news for the past week. So there's a couple of things. So Etsy's announced some new, I noticed this, but I didn't think much of it. Etsy announced some new delivery partners. I didn't realise that it meant they were getting rid of some of the ones they had before. There's new delivery partners in there, and there's some that aren't in there. And we'll get into this a little bit more in a moment. But the delivery partners that are not on the list, it seems, do not have access to the Etsy API to be able to get in and help facilitate the delivery of your sales. So yeah, interesting, but we'll get that in a minute. There's a few comments on the upcoming, it's like this week, the financial report's coming out, so I'm waiting nervously because Etsy usually makes a change. Now, they might have made a change with the charges for the API that I talked about a little while ago, but they usually release something, so I'll be looking Monday or Tuesday to see if they do something else. They did, yes, they updated their policies that we spoke about in depth last month. They've been updating things without telling us they're updating things. Isn't it good that I get a regular email telling me of changes to Etsy site and I can check in on this? But anyway, so the Q2 financial report's coming out this week. Companies have been debating whether it's going to be good. Morgan Stanley put a positive on Etsy's growth outlook. Others are not saying so much. we have value added resource says Etsy puts order and item CSV files on a 2-week delay, disrupting sellers' workflows. So not only have the delivery partners not got access to the API, but sellers used to be able to download their CSVs on their orders and get all the data that way. And it seems now you've got to wait till 2 weeks after you've had the order. I don't have this delay. I can't see it, but I tried just now and I got my CSV mailed straight away. But this is definitely interesting that they're putting barriers in place to make it harder to manage your orders. We'll come into this in a second. And I brought this one up because I haven't seen this as a news report for a little while, and people usually freak out, so I'm going to get ahead of it. Etsy CEO Silverman sells 9.1 million in stock after option exercise. Don't freak out. Josh is dumping his sales. I hear this all the time. No, Josh Silverman gets paid in shares and regularly sells his shares because he's paid in shares and he likes having money. It's as simple as that. So I don't know why that's news. I was just getting on top of it before people freak out. Okay, so I said about this, Etsy put in order and item CSV files on a 2-week delay. So yes, when I dug more into this, people are saying Etsy has done this with no documentation, no showing this as an official change, no notification for us at all. And yeah, this affects my business greatly as I use the CSV to process hundreds of orders a month. So this is definitely a problem for some people. Now, some people are speculating that this is a way to shut down some of the mass-produced sellers, some of the people that we generally don't want on the site, but high volume sellers, or people who are medium volume sellers but have a nice little way to do everything easily. It's not necessarily that they're bad or anything. So they can be decent shops that we want to be on Etsy. So why would Etsy make shipping even harder? I hope Tinterwebs is wrong, but with the quarterly report coming up, and we know for the past few reports, Etsy GMS, how much is being made by sales on Etsy, how much is being sold. This has been falling and falling. But Etsy's revenue has been going up because, to an extent, sellers are the product. Is Etsy working on making more money from us? Certainly seems to be. So there has been questions. Is Etsy poised to profit from expanding seller services? So, well, they've definitely, as I talked about the API change, the third-party companies are now, Etsy hit them and said they're going to charge them for their API access. So that's some money. It's a lot of money for the companies. That's where Printify has commented, and eRank has made some comments on what changes they're having to make to keep up with this, because it's a significant amount of money by the sounds of it for small companies, but it's not going to move the needle in revenue for Etsy, I wouldn't think. So there's the other things like, is Etsy Plus or whatever the paid program, is this going to be expanded? We did just see a couple of weeks ago, Etsy have given people with the paid subscription to Etsy the ability to change the colours in their shop. And other things are coming soon, apparently. So there's the potential that they're trying to encourage more people to pay for the subscription. Bring us back the search analytics beta, but make it free. But anyway, bring back search analytics beta, but they want to make more money from us, which I don't think is great, because probably the people that are paying for it just now are the people that it doesn't hurt them for that to come out of their bottom line. But there are, the more you encourage them, the more extras you give, then it's going to become really expensive for the people who aren't making much money at all. So I'm not really happy with that. We want services. A lot of the things are going to be potentially going to be things that would help new shops, the ones that aren't making a lot of money. But also, so I'm getting distracted. I'm stressed at Etsy just now, if you can't tell. Not overly happy. But in a survey that Etsy sent out, now they didn't send it out to me, so I'm not sharing anything I shouldn't. I'm just sharing a screenshot I saw somewhere else. But Etsy's asking, imagine that Etsy gave you the ability to manage all of your different sales channel in one place. You're able to complete tasks across every channel at once. Which of the following tasks would you be most interested? Inventory management, accounting, bookkeeping, finance management, managing customer relationships, marketing and promoting my business or brand, shipping and order fulfillment, reviewing stats and data to make decisions about my creative business, or other. Please specify. So imagine that Etsy gave you this ability. Yeah, imagine for Etsy if they could take all of these little companies that help sellers, and Etsy could charge you for all of that. So some of that could be very helpful to sellers, but what really irks me is removing the ability for like some shipping companies to be able to do the order fulfillment, and then for Etsy to be able to go, it's okay, we can do it for you. And I can sort of see it like I'm an OG on Etsy. I've been around a while, and in the past, sales used to go through PayPal, and that worked absolutely fine. But whether you love or hate PayPal, that worked fine. In the UK, that meant if I sent it to my bank, I could get payment within 2 minutes. And then Etsy said, no, don't worry, we're going to do it all in-house. And what doing it in-house meant was we have a less good system that takes about a day for the stuff to show up in your account, and then another couple of days to whiz bang over to your bank, and it costs more. So we got a less good service for more money, and we have no choice. You can't open a shop and not use their system. So enshittification. So I'm worried about that for people who use like order fulfillment and stuff. Is this just going to be a way for Etsy to build a product that's not as good as the products that are out there and charge more for it? So it is the worry. Etsy needs to make more money for the investors. GMS is falling. So could sellers be the product? And what's stressing me the most out about all of this, even me mentioning it, but other places are going to start talking about it, it continues the bad feeling that people have for Etsy, which means buyers are going to be, I'm hearing it, we've been hearing it for a while, I don't shop at Etsy because of how terribly they treat their sellers. So you hurt the sellers by not coming to the sellers who have nowhere else to go but Etsy. So yeah, this is a negative spiral that could end up in GMS falling even further. Just Etsy, please. What you need is for GMS to grow, then everybody has more money. And then if we all have more money, you're making more money, and everybody's talking happily about Etsy like back in the day is Pam in the Pollyanna world. But let's have a positive cycle where people like buying from Etsy again. eRank do buyer surveys talking about how do you feel about buying on Etsy, and people used to say, they loved buying on Etsy. That was one thing, it made them feel good. They were making a positive impact. That goodwill is eroding, and this is not going to help it. Anyway, that's what I've seen in the news for this week. Sorry about that. I'm feeling angry at Etsy, and I'm sure it's come across well, frustrated. Let me know what you think and if I've missed anything. And yeah, see you next week.